So the reason I'm recording is because one of my faculty members says that she has five students
Class
that are
right now.
traveling. Yeah, so we are
Oh,
60% student athletes, and
wow.
a lot are traveling. So she wanted me to record the meeting as well.
Sounds good.
We have roughly, so out of the approximately 685 students, I think maybe 45 biology majors. And then from that, I did both, I invited both my non-biology major classes. So, and of
Well, let's
course,
see who turns up.
yeah, and of course, I offer them plus 10 points if they attended. Because if they're going to spend an hour time, I'm going to allow, give them points for it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So
Lucky them.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. First of all, this is, I'm sure folks will join in, but this is actually the very first biology series, seminar series. Yay! Um, I must, this has been a vision to try and get invited guests. However, what best way to let our students know what to do to apply for grad school or become interested in grad
Mhm.
school, to have another grad student. Because you see, I can invite a professor, visiting professor, and they may not share that graduate. We may have forgotten that graduate student type life. So
This, yeah, the struggle is still real, and the struggle is probably different than what
yes,
professors now have.
definitely. Um, so our main goal, the flyer, is really for that, to invite speakers to where they share their experiences, not only as a graduate student, but also
Mhm.
as a researcher in the field. Um, Salome has is a marine Salome is a marine ecologist, currently a PhD student, research studying deep sea habitats and kelp in the Galapagos Islands, masters in physical geography from the University of British Columbia, Canada, which you're in Canada right now.
Yes.
All right, all right. Just saw some news from the Prime Minister concerning travel.
Yes.
All right. And her Bachelor of Science in Geography from the University College London, UK. I
Yeah.
must say that our sponsors, Reverend Laura McMasters, her and Julie Shelton here in Career Services, they got this NetView grant,
Hmm.
and they were able to provide sponsorship. Not only
Well.
you, but I also have a February guest
Hmm.
speaker and a March guest speaker. Um,
Nice. Well
yes.
done.
All right. So I'm actually going to turn it over to you. And then once you finish with your short presentation, we'll do a Q&A.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some questions and you'll share your um, answers, and then we'll see if students have questions.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for attending. I appreciate your time. We're all saturated with Zoom talks, so I appreciate those who are tuning in, and I hope you enjoy what I'm going to share with you guys. So I don't need to uh, introduce myself because Staten did a really great job. Um, but so I'm currently based in British Columbia in Canada. But for the last 4 years, I've been living right here where this blue arrow is. This is Santa Cruz Island, the Galapagos. And I was here because I worked here for 4 years on a project that focuses on deep sea ecosystems and seamounts. And what I want to tell you a little bit about today is the work that I had been doing back then and how this transitioned into a PhD. And for those of you who haven't heard of the Galapagos before, this is an archipelago that is a province of Ecuador. So it's as a Spanish-speaking country. And what I want you to notice in this map, I'm a geographer, as he heard, so I like maps a lot. So what I want you guys to see on this map is it's very dark blue all around. With those are spaces that are very deep. So it's a deep sea. It's over 4,000, between 3,000 to 4,000 meters deep. And where it's lighter, where it's turning white, it's much shallower. So in middle of the Eastern tropical Pacific, we have this elevated platform, which is the Galapagos. And we have very heterogeneous or very interesting deep sea landscapes, because this is a bumpy place full of mountains called seamounts, and I'll talk about these in a bit more. And what this platform in the middle of the ocean also created is a very, very unique marine area, which in 1998 became protected. And actually Ecuador was leading and amongst most countries in the world for being the first to create a massive marine protected area. It's only now recently in the last 10 years that other countries, especially developed countries, have joined that movement. And within this space, all industrial fishing practices or any kind of industrial activities are banned. You only have local fishing. And the role of where I was, which is at the Charles Darwin Research Station here in the Marine Department, is to do research that is going to help the management of the marine resources here. Now, this is where I was for 4 years. This is the Charles Darwin Research Station. I was up here in this office, and I got to work on many different projects in the beginning. I was in a shark tagging project. I got to do a lot of scuba diving. So if you have questions about that, we can talk about that too. But for most of my time, I was in the deep sea research program. This was my crew for a bit. And this is a nice map again that shows you a little bit about this heterogeneous topography that I'm talking about. And these are the seamounts. And this is what my research then and now centers around. And before I keep on saying what seamounts are, and I want you, and if it's something that I want you guys to leave after this talk is to know what a seamount is, because I hope you'll be seeing them more in the news. Seamounts are topographical landscapes that, well, seamounts are a topographical feature, that can be up to 100, minimum 100, but can be thousands to meters tall, essentially underwater mountains. And everything that lives here at the top may be very similar or share similarities to our coastal habitats, but as you go deeper, the pressure increases, it gets much colder, and it gets really dark. So organisms that live in these deep spaces are uniquely adapted. And for most of the time, we thought the deep sea is a bit of a barren landscape, i.e. it doesn't have a lot of biodiversity. But actually these seamounts create these biodiversity hotspots because they provide a substrate where there is a lot of benthic. Benthic just means living on the seafloor. A lot of benthic fauna creating reefs. So we have deep sea reefs. And another thing that seamounts do that's really special is seamounts interrupt ocean currents. And these bring nutrient-rich cold waters from the deep to the surface. And I don't know if you ever heard of phytoplankton. It's essentially mini, tiny marine plants. And they start to they are able to grow now that there's nutrients right above the seamounts. This attracts little fish and zooplankton, and that attracts the big fish, and that attracts humans. And that's one of the reasons why we're so interested in seamount ecosystems now. We want the resources, we want to learn from them, but we also need to protect them because we're fishing them with big trawling nets. And also seamounts have mining minerals, and believe it or not, humans are looking into deep sea mining and exploiting resources in the deep sea. So it's really important that we do an inventory of what's living here, how is it living here? And that's what my research does. So in the Galapagos, I was really lucky. There was an expedition in 2015, which I wasn't able to participate in because I arrived there later, but I got the data. And this ROV could go down to 4,000 meters and surveyed 4 seamounts. And this is some of the PhD. And this is something you can do in your PhD. You don't have to collect your own data. You can get someone else's data and analyze it. And the way I do this research is This is a topographic map of the seamounts in the deep. So it goes from less deep to deeper. Are you guys still with me? Staten, can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, because I got a poor connectivity announcement. And so the ROV, this toy here, goes from the bottom all the way up and is doing video recordings and taking samples. And my role, together with other scientists, it's always in collaboration. And science is not a thing that you do. You can be the hero by yourself. You have to you're always collaborating with others. Everybody has different skills, so you put those together. And someone helped me turn those videos into images. And then I selected every 10th image along the transect. And then I analyzed them in programs like this, which is called an annotation program. And this is actually a little bit like Facebook. You can upload photos and you can tag your friends. When you become a marine biologist, your friends are corals and sponges. And here you can list the friends or the taxonomic groups that you're going to see, and then you tag away. Now, unlike Facebook and most social media, this actually is going to give me useful data and a degree. So this afterwards exports Excel files, and I can analyze them. And that's where I am now. I'm having a fight with R and Excel doing analysis. And we can talk about that as well. And then another project that I've been doing that is part of my PhD that I did in the past was, so the one I just spoke about was looking at these super deep sea seamounts. And during my time there, I wanted to do field work, because one of the things that a reason to go into grad school is to be able to do your own field work, as I wanted to also do some exploration. So I was looking into these much smaller seamounts that sit on top of the Galapagos platform. And to do this, I collaborated with these guys who built small ROVs. So this is an ROV that is the size of like 2 microwaves packed together. And you have this enormous cord that you have to kind of manage. That's me here with the pilot. And trust me, you get seasick doing this. And we surveyed some seamounts, the top of the seamounts, and we did this very incredible discovery, which is actually what pushed me towards doing a PhD. I don't know if you can see the video clearly, but I'm hoping you can notice there's these large macroalgae. These are algae and they're really tall. They look like little palms. And what we're seeing here is a kelp forest. And kelp forests, I don't know if you heard of them before, they are really important productive ecosystems that are in the temperate part of the world, in Alaska and California and Chile. So they're usually in the cold parts of the world. But here we found it to be in deep water. So that's why it's so dark. It looks like the late afternoon. That's because this is 50 meters deep. So it's what we call a mesophotic kelp forest. And it's a tropical one. So essentially finding this here is like finding a penguin in the Bahamas. But Galapagos is this kind of place. We actually have penguins in Galapagos, and that's because we have really cold water currents. So it's been a really neat find. And we already had a type of kelp species in the Galapagos, but now we think we've discovered a second one, which is this one here. And this actually attracted some pretty cool researchers to the Galapagos, which I'm not sure if you ever heard of Sylvia Earle. If you haven't, looked her up. She's an incredible lady who's done a lot for the awareness of the ocean. She's the woman who spent the most time under the ocean in the world. So I was very giddy to meet her, and she invited me on her expedition because she's actually a botanist, a marine botanist, and she wanted to see this kelp forest. So I got to go in the sub with her team and see the kelp forest, and it's actually football fields of it. And I got samples. We're showing them off here, so this gives you an idea of how big these little palm trees are. And so the other 2 chapters of my PhD are going to be, I'm going to aim, I'm planning this, but I'm going to characterize this newly discovered seamount associated kelp forest. This is science language for you. It's never clear. It's never sexy. And I'm also hoping to build a map to predict where else these kelp could be distributed and then ground truth them, which means that's fancy language for do a map to predict where it is and then go there and verify. And that's for my PhD. How am I doing for time? I have a thing that I could show, but I'm happy we can skip it as well if we don't have enough time.
Go for it.
Go for it. Okay. Only two more slides. So this is actually not related to my PhD, but I did this in the Galapagos, and this was in collaboration with National Geographic. National Geographic funded the project in which I discovered the kelp. And then that's when I became a National Geographic explorer. And they were like, hey, we're building these cameras that can go into the super deep, like down to 6,000 meters. They're small, they're easy to use. You just put some bait on there. Bait is like some fish and a weight, and you store it down, and the weight releases itself and they come back up. And so they're called drop cameras. So we dropped these drop cams all many times around the archipelago. And it was just to see what swims towards the camera and then record it. And it's a simple way of recording a deep sea diversity. But because we know so little about the deep right now, anything you can get is valuable. And I hope you can see this video. This shows you a little bit about what the fieldwork looks like. So I'm someone who gets sick in the sea, so I'm drugged here with some kind of not anti-seasickness tablets. Let me just go back a little bit. So what we're doing here is we are putting the bait on the camera. We're putting the weight on the camera. So this is going to weigh the camera down so it sinks. Now we're dropping it into the water. And here's a snapshot of two discoveries we did. This is a 6-gill blunt-nosed shark. And we also found a 7-gill shark. And this is a 7-gill. Most sharks in the world have 5 gills, by the way. All the sharks you see on TV have 5 gills. These are what we think of as prehistoric sharks. So, and we didn't know they existed in the Galapagos, which is no surprise. When you can't have the tools to explore what's in the deep, how would you know what's down there? And that's it from me. And I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, let me see if any students have any questions.
Don't be shy. This is a conversation.
Yes.
Not a test.
What initially interested you in marine sciences?
So I was lucky enough to grow up by the coast, and I actually lived in Dominican Republic. That's in the Caribbean for a big part of my childhood, and I had the opportunity to volunteer and go whale watching to monitor whale behavior. So that always was something that made me fall in love with the ocean. But I actually got into marine sciences when I was living in Tobago, and I knew I wanted to work in the environmental field, but there weren't that many job opportunities. So there was a chance to do a paid volunteership in a coral reef in Tobago. And when I got taught how to dive, and that was already like, whoa, I love this. I could do this for a living. And then I witnessed a mass bleaching event. That's when corals bleach because the water's too warm. And when I learned about the fact that this could kill corals forever, and eventually the more this happens, they'll disappear, that made me want to understand it more. And that's when that made me want to go back to grad school. But first I was like, okay, I need to make some money. So then I worked for a bit in marketing, and that's when I really realized I want to go into sciences. I realized I have a greater calling. I don't just want to help rich people make more money. I want to do something that is interesting and that makes you want to get up in the morning. So that was it for me, but it could be for any. There are many aspects of nature that are incredible to study. And making money is fine too. Someone's got to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Salome, let's do something really quick so that students realize, hey, marine ecologists are cool too, and they are real people. All right. I call this icebreakers. All
Okay.
right? So just respond to the question. So as a graduate student, what's your favorite food that's affordable and readily accessible? Go.
Miso soup.
Okay.
It's so easy.
What is your place of zen? Where you study, where you get your ideas?
Ooh,
as a
I
grad
mean,
student? Uh-huh.
I mean, in the pandemic, it's been no choice. But usually, when I was living in the Galapagos, it was definitely anywhere where I could look into the ocean with ocean view, which is very privileged, I have to say.
Favorite genre of music?
um, Electro jazz.
Okay, good, good. Now, bucket list place to travel. Not that the Galapagos isn't like.
I would really like to go to Cocos. It's this island that is very close to the Galapagos. It's part of Costa Rica, and it's meant to be similar, but it's more. Galapagos is a very arid, dry place, so it's meant to be similar but very tropical. So I want me a place that has as cool stuff as the Galapagos, but has the Caribbean tropical part of it.
Favorite ocean animal?
Ocean animal. Oh, it's the seahorse, because the dudes
Uh,
give birth to their little young and carry all the eggs.
oh, gotcha, gotcha. Favorite genre of music when you're analyzing data?
Oh, probably electro jazz again, but I've been listening to a lot of Mozart these days.
Ah, see? So there you have it, students. Marine ecologists are just like us, cool people too. All right, so
Uh,
go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah. So that was icebreakers. So one huge part of what is your favorite marine species? I think so. Briley had that question. I think she said the seahorse. Is that
Hmm.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the, I mean, the main goal of this biology seminar series is really, um, this is what we've seen, or this is what I have seen with students here. Um,
Hmm.
they're,
I'll put this
it's a
there.
rural,
Hmm.
we serve 13 rural counties. And so many of these students are first year generation. Um,
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
just getting a bachelor's of science degree is like an achievement already.
it is.
But many stop because no one is really telling them, or they're not sure if they want to go to graduate school.
Hmm.
So this is where you will be, I mean, you're the first to start this talk. There will there will be more invited guests, but you're the first, so you're gonna set the trend here. So tell us about how you got your opportunity to do graduate research.
Grad school. Yeah, for sure. So as I said before, I was in Trinidad and I was working and I got a job in marketing as a brand analyst, and I really wanted to do a master's. And you know, a master's costs money most of the time, and in most places it's regarded as a professional degree. And I kind of didn't, I've definitely felt intimidated by going straight into a PhD. That's something that you can do as well after your bachelor's. There is the possibility to go straight into a PhD, but I was intimidated. I felt like I needed a step to do a master's first to get my feet a bit more wet. And when I was looking into North America, because I actually grew up in Europe and the Caribbean, when I looked into North America, I learned that you can do a research-based master's. They're usually 2 years long. And the amazing thing is that you get paid to do it. So you don't have to pay for it. So this is actually a job. I mean, it's not, depending where you are, it could be well paid or not so well paid. So if you live somewhere where living expenses are expensive, then it's not such a well paid job. Generally, you're not going to pay a lot, but you get paid all your fees and a living allowance. And when I learned this, I was like, this is a no-brainer, because I didn't want to, I mean, I didn't have the money to pay for a master's. I didn't want to burden my parents more. Um, so I thought, I'm going to go to Canada. And essentially, you are a research assistant, and that's how you get everything paid for. And the research that you're assisting in is actually your master's, and that's your research project. So, and the way I went about this, I had the chance to talk to other people who had done masters, just like you guys are listening to me now, and they said the key thing to do is not just to look for university and see where it says apply and start filling out the form. Stop that. You see what kind of research they're doing, see who the faculty is. Faculty just means the professors, like Staten, and see who they are. Send them an email. This is what they're expecting. They're expecting students to contact them and say, hey, I want to do a master's. And then you need to be smart about it. You don't just say, I want a master's, give it to me. You say, you need to show that you read up on the work they do. You tell them why you find that interested. Maybe there's, why you find it interesting. Maybe you have a common ground, and then you email them and say, hey, I saw that you are studying birds. I really love the birds here. I would love to do a study that looks into this aspect of the birds. Are you taking students on? And then they will probably email you back. And that's how you start. And this is good for you too. You want to learn if you want to work with this person, you're going to be working for them for 2 years. And then they'll be like, okay, I like how you sound. They'll probably ask you what your grades are, if you have any work experience. And if the conversations goes well, usually they will encourage you to apply, or they'll say, actually, I'm not taking any students on, so you have to go. You just go next. This is I emailed 6 professors, so and 3 replied and 2 were positive. So I mean, those are not bad numbers. And yes, Simon, my professor, he told me, yeah, apply, I'll support your application. And he did. And then I got this letter saying all my fees are paid for. This is what I was going to be making. And I was like, yes. And yeah, it was really great. It's a lot of work, but I think it's really neat because you get to design your own project. You have someone helping you, and you're surrounded by other grad students who, like you, are terrified and excited to do the science that you want to do if you want to do it in this field. But yeah, good distinction to remember. Look for research-based masters, not professional. When they're professional, you usually have to pay if it's a research one. So look for the universities that offer that.
That is really good advice, because it may be overwhelming for a student to say, well, I am going to apply for 10 graduate programs. In their mind, they are hitting the apply button and just applying.
Yeah.
Which, that is kind of the back end. You actually look, to see, well, what the program, what they're doing, what professors there, what research they're doing, and then emailing. This is such an important email.
And get someone to proofread your email. Get your supervisors, get the faculty and staff at the university. They'll be happy to vet your email and boost it a little bit with fancy language. And that's not cheating. That's doing what I said. That's working in collaboration. That's how you start your collaboration. That's how you learn to work collaboratively, right? As I said, we all have our different skills, and you find other people to help you achieve something together.
Yeah. Sierra asks, how do you determine between professional masters and research masters?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. And often universities want to possibly not even make that very clear, because they often want students to pay, right? Like universities some of them are don't want to say it badly, but a money-making business. So it won't be, unfortunately, it won't be like a very easy category. You can usually you just have to go to the website and read the information. You can also send an email real quick to the department and ask, do you have a research-based master's, or is this a research-based master's? But usually the way you can tell is if it says you have to do a thesis, like a big thesis project. If it says you're gonna do 10 courses and you're done, that's a professional one. If it says you're gonna do a thesis, you're gonna do original research, then that's usually a research-based one. Right. And you also, another way they provide you with funding is you become a TA. So not only are you a research assistant, you also become a teaching assistant. So you will be potential, if you want, and if you need the money, you can teach, you can help the professor teach their courses. And this is a fantastic experience. I mean, it's the best, you learn something when you can teach it to somebody
That's
else.
the route I took for my
Yeah.
master's. That's the route I took
Yeah.
as a teacher assistant.
Hmm.
Um, the funny thing is, when I went around to advisors and potential advisors, and they asked, "Well, what do you want to do research on?" I said, "Coral reefs." And I was so excited to say coral reefs. Here I am at Middle Tennessee,
Hmm.
and then the marine biology professor said, "Okay, what about coral reefs?" And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, you can do so many things with coral,
Yes.
with coral reefs. The one thing I knew though is that I was going to do research on coral reefs on the reefs in Trinidad.
Hmm.
And so that meant I had to contact someone from the university in Trinidad, University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, Trinidad. And so this is going back to the emails to professors.
Hmm.
It's really important to get those emails to professors, but even more important to have probably look at their research and probably read a couple papers they've published and then start your conversation with that. Hey, Professor so and so, I
Hmm.
did research, you published, X, Y, and Z, and that really impresses a professor.
Yeah.
It really does.
And I'll tell you a secret. If you Google how to send an email to an introductory email to a professor for grad school, there are templates out there. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You just
Yep.
you customize it based on your interest, and you just make sure you give a good impression by showing that you know how to write a good introductory email. So
So
this is a
Salome, we started with icebreakers. I think this is the easier one. It's called stars in your eyes, which pretty much means who, well, as a grad student, what's the most famous marine biologist you've met? But you've met the heiress. She's called the heiress of the deep,
her
heiress of the
deepness.
ocean, Dr. Sylvia Earle. I mean, she is literally like if you had to pick five major marine biologists on the planet, she's literally in there. So you've already met a most famous marine biologist. Tell me how that was. Well, tell students what that was like.
It. I mean, she is an amazing lady. If I have to confess, I didn't know who she was until someone told me she wanted to get in touch with me, and I actually messaged my dad because the internet's really bad in Galapagos, and I WhatsApped my dad and I'm like, Dad, can you please go to WhatsApp and Wikipedia Dr. Sylvia Earle and send me back the info. And then I was like, holy beep. um, and well, I was very honored. And as soon as I met her, um, she is just a beautiful human like most people, but she has this amazing way of showing you that she's listening to you, that she's interested in what you're saying, and she's very humble, and I think that's a very nice thing because I have to say in the marine biology field there are a lot of egos. There's a lot of chest beating egos. It is a competitive field. Um, and so there and with her she was very humble and lovely, and it was really great for me as a woman to meet another woman leader in this field because up until then she was the first female uh, lead marine scientist celebrity that I had met for sure.
Gotcha.
But I would say that the most uplifting experience has been is just meeting other marine scientists who are just as passionate, or you can see that they're just as passionate as you are, and then we get excited of each other. And I think that's always with any marine biologist. Once you're able to talk about marine critters and what's going on down there and the big research questions that we all want to answer, that's usually what gets me all excited and rallied up.
We did that BIMS when they had their week, Black in Marine Science.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I think that and when we were putting together our responses for the proposed Toku port in Trinidad,
Mm-hmm.
I think, which was last year, 2019, I think, we got responses last year. That really got me back in touch with marine scientists,
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad and Tobago, and of course BIMS. I never realized how many scientists we have, doing some
In Trinidad or in the Caribbean?
in the Caribbean as well.
Yes.
You know.
Well, we are surrounded by the oceans.
Yes. Yes. But also,
but that being said,
yeah.
That shouldn't limit you to
Exactly.
do marine science. I think it's this is a blue planet.
Yes.
And there's lots of sea to study. And as of now, 90% of my work is desk-based. That's not to disencourage. You just plan your field work, and this is a smaller world by transport, so you don't have to be next to an ocean to do this kind of work. But it does help to be inspired to go and check it out.
Last question from me before I turn it over to students if they have questions. Life after you attain your PhD.
Well, that's a hard one because it's still a 4 years away. But I don't know. I'm someone who just likes to keep my options open, and I wouldn't disregard it. Just narrow myself down. I would consider academia, even though I would like to do. I like the idea of doing research in a space that doesn't ask for too much bureaucracy and paperwork. So I'll probably choose the space that offers that the most, whether that is government and non-governmental organization or an institute or academia. I like the idea of teaching, and that, or I think there are many ways to reinvent ourselves as the world is changing. It's not, I don't think it was like before where like you study this, you become that. I think nowadays you study this, it might be something you do as a hobby and you have a business on the side. You might teach part-time and also realize that there's something else you like and you have skills in. So I think the next generation is, I think I'm hoping that I'm young enough to be part of the next generation that is, open to the different ways that we can practice our profession and our hobbies and do the things we need to live, because that's always there. Money is needed.
Yes, you have to make money somehow,
But classically in my field, you either go into academia, you can teach at the different types of universities, and there's more universities every time. And also you can work in government in the state. I'm not American, but there's a lot of work in America. You guys have very big and busy coastlines. A lot of assessments need to be done. So for example, anywhere there's a port or there's any kind of exploitation of marine resources, they'll need marine biologists to do assessments pre and post. So there's, especially in the States, there's actually a lot of diversity of jobs for marine biologists.
Gotcha. I see my one of my undergraduate student researchers is on here, Sam. So because I am her mentor and she's doing Bio 44 undergraduate research, I'm just gonna call her out and say, Sam.
Come on, Sam.
I know you got a question.
Or anyone else.
Or anyone else, but she's probably taking a nap.
No, I
Where
don't
she
have
go?
any questions.
Okay, all right. Minus 20.
No, no worries, Sam.
All right, all right.
Don't be shy, guys. This is just a chat.
Yeah.
Are any okay? Can I ask questions to them?
Yes, please do. Please do.
Let's see if they answer. But are any of you guys looking into getting into marine biology or the environmental, some kind of environmental science? You can just do your hands up. In case
Yes, I am.
Nice. Anybody else?
Maybe.
Sam is like maybe.
Yeah, and that's as a obviously in grad school because I'm assuming everyone's doing bio right now, right?
Let me see. Most. Yeah, most here. Yeah. So I advertise mostly for the biology majors, but I did also advertise to my non-biology majors. But it is Friday. Um,
It is Friday.
Yeah.
The body knows it.
Yes. So I say Friday, but for many people, Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a question. Does anyone consider like what if you weren't considered like what is it about grad school that makes it unattractive for you?
Oh, that's a nice question.
I don't have much confidence that I can actually finish it.
Like to do a 2-year master's, for example, or like
Yeah.
a 5-year PhD.
Either or.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair fear to have. By finishing, do you mean like starting a project from scratch and like wrapping it up and doing the stats and submitting the thesis? You mean that part, or
It's
actually
mainly
like
my abilities. I don't know that I have the knowledge, I guess, behind it.
well, I have a secret for you. You are not doing grad school because you know it all. You're doing grad school because you're going to learn it. So someone's not gonna hire you because you already know what you're doing. So someone who studies maths is not gonna go back and study maths again. So you're gonna go and study something you don't know. I think it's good to question if I for one know what it's like to feel like, oh, maybe I don't have my STEM subjects aren't strong enough. I'm not that good at maths. My writing skills sometimes are questionable. But I think
our package.
Pardon?
Our package. Whew.
Yes,
I am struggling. Whew.
But actually, you could see this as an opportunity to challenge yourself, to try something different. And once you're in grad school, I think the hardest part is kind of getting over that, getting the inertia to apply, to psych yourself up, to convince yourself like I can do this. I'm gonna go and learn. So for now, all I need to do is get in, and then I'll figure out how to do the rest. But once you're in, they want you to succeed, right? The department. It looks bad on the university if you quit. It looks bad if you don't make it through. They want you, so they're going to be throwing workshops at you. They're going to be like, what do you need? Your supervisor is like, oh, you're not feeling good on your stats. Let's put you in a first year undergrad stats course again for you to refresh. And I'm in my PhD. I'm 34. I did a course, an undergrad course on botany, on algae, because I don't know anything about kelp. I found kelp by accident because it doesn't belong to the tropics. I studied corals. But I'm fascinated by it, and I just knock on the door of the botanist, and I'm like, "What books shall I read? What paper shall I read?" It definitely takes a lot of reading. I'm dyslexic. I don't like reading, but you learn how to read abstracts and see the keywords, and those are things you learn, and those are tools that even if you do the masters, you realize actually I didn't enjoy this that much. I did enjoy learning this, but you will have transferable skills that if you decide to not go down that path, you can definitely get a job doing something very different afterwards. So it's not a waste of time, I'll tell you that.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because Sam would tell you, as part of the undergrad research, They got to read papers. They got to give me a paragraph. I got them looking at graduate schools, give me a synopsis of some graduate programs. Sam, this is living proof, right? And I didn't put Salome up to this. This is the experience of graduate school. You know what really amazed me with grad school when I got into Middle Tennessee State University? Thursdays, because most of us were TAs. Thursdays we'll meet up at a specific place, and we're all frustrated and scared, and all of us, all the GTAs, first semester, we were all freaking out. Think we were all not sure if we could do this, but slowly, things worked out. I mean, you take cool courses like scanning electron microscopy. Oh my gosh, you're playing with a $250,000 piece of equipment. I mean, it's so many things.
It is, and I would also say that if you if you're worried about grades, I've never been someone I've never been an A-star student. That's how we call it in England. I never got the top grades. As I mentioned before, I'm dyslexic, so give me an exam and if I pass, I did really well. So, but the good thing about grad school is, and I don't know, I'm sure different universities are a bit different in the States, and I don't know the American universities that well, but for example, you don't need to do the GRE in Canada. Europe is a completely different, so don't close your world in. Sometimes you have to go far from home, but that's okay, especially if you can get a scholarship to pay for your living expenses. But I would say when it comes to
It's
grades,
important.
yes, same here. But when it comes to grades, sometimes maybe you're not going to apply now, right, coming out of university. But I took 2 years. Sometimes we need to save a little bit of money. And what I did was I made sure I volunteered. I kept myself in the environmental data collection project here. I volunteered there. So I showed that it's an interest. I can show in my CV that even though I worked in marketing, which has nothing to do with the environment, I was still doing things that shows that I'm following my passions and I'm aware and learning things. And those are the things that your potential master supervisor wants to see, right? He wants to see that this is something that even if you didn't have the grades at some point or you didn't have the money at some point, that you've been pursuing it even in your free time. And that's what they want. They want someone with passion, not someone who knows how to do everything already, because that person might get bored and leave. They want someone who's going to see this through, even if they have to learn some parts of biochemistry again. No problem. And as I said, if you're hitting a wall, reach out to someone who's already done it and let them give you a hand up. And yeah, Stanton, I'm sure will be there to uplift you guys when that happens.
Well, fingers crossed. Because we do have professors here that do research. Um, it's just we worry about commitment from students,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we have equipment. Like I do a lot of genetic analysis
Mm-hmm.
because it's a really cool tool that I also use with my research. Um, so training students, of course, within the last year, it's been a little bit challenging because of hands-on. It's really challenging now, but it's not impossible. We got plexiglass in the lab. We can. It's just to get in there and train the students and whatnot. Um, but steady as she goes forward in the world of research and science. Salome, we sure appreciate. Yeah, first one
Woo!
down.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, first of all, accepting the invitation.
No, thanks for the
No,
invitation.
and then I hope, well, as it's I hope these students really get something out of this. I'm hoping to do this as a program coordinator in biology. I'm hoping to do this as long as I can.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys keep going. I think I think I wished I heard more experiences when I applied. To be honest, I think we weren't as connected back before when that was in 2012 when I looked into my master's. My motivation came out of desperation of just like I knew I needed to do something else,
Right.
and I had met one person who had gone to grad school, and that was enough for me. And but I think listen to as many people as you can, because then you realize what your options keep opening up, and you can see
Yes.
that there's potentially a lot of choice within whatever what is falls within your needs, whether you need to stay home, where you can go far, what budget you have, will you need a scholarship or not, so forth. So
All right. Respect.
thank you
All right.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Salome. We'll stay in contact.
Thanks for staying connected and listening, guys. And yeah, oh, I
Thank
think
you.
there's some questions. Is there chat?
Let's see.
Oh, it's they're
Thank you,
just saying
thank you. Yeah, some thank yous. Yes.
No,
Yeah.
you're
Uh-huh.
welcome. Bye, guys.
See you again.
Bye.
All right.